This time we'll be focusing on news and current affairs to ignite some small talk conversation. The situations we'll be taking a look at are social gatherings, social events, and networking events. You know, those tricky situations when you just don't know anyone there. I think we've all had those awkward little moments, haven't we? We'll look at how to both start and end these kinds of conversations and how to relax while doing so. So, let's take a look at how we might achieve this. First up, we've got news and current affairs. This is a great one because oftentimes there's some fresh news breaking or a piece of news that almost everyone is commenting on. Using news or current affairs as a conversation starter can be really great for getting the ball rolling. You just need to make sure you don't choose the heaviest topics of the day. War, for example, is a pretty heavy subject and not ideal for a little light conversation. Try avoiding topics that you think might cause a heated exchange. Politics and religion are two that come to mind. These two subjects can often lead to disagreements, which is fine for an in depth conversation, but not the stuff that small talk is made of. A good list of choice might be sport, royal visits, concerts, TV shows, books. You don't have to be complicated, keep it simple. Did you hear about? Is a great phrase that can be used with many things. You can add something relevant that you read online, heard on the radio, maybe even saw on YouTube, etc. Did you hear about the 2026 World Cup? It'll be in North America, taking in the US, Canada, and Mexico. Did you hear about the band U2? They're going to be performing in Las Vegas in 2023 at a great new venue called the MSG Sphere. Another popular way to introduce a topic is by saying, I read. I read online that J.K. Rowling might be writing another Harry Potter book. My daughter's a big fan. Don't just leave it at a statement, though. Add something like, what about you? Are you a fan? And obviously, your question has to be relevant to your subject to encourage a reply. After all, it's their opinion you're after. Another way to prompt conversation is, I heard. I heard on the radio that the coronation of King Charles will be in May 2023. There'll be a procession through London. Will you go? Now, here are some stock questions you can also tack on after your initial statement. So, what do you reckon about that? Or you can switch out reckon for think. What do you think about that? Or what do you think to that? We can also shorten the sentence to what do you think? What do you reckon? I think England will win the World Cup this year. What do you reckon? I reckon there's more chance of my 9-year-old daughter becoming Prime Minister than England win the World Cup. So, no chance then. No, tell me another joke. You can also use how do you feel about that? We've got to open the shop 30 minutes earlier. How do you feel about that? It feels like a waste of time. There's no footfall at that time, so no customers. It's a scorcher today, isn't it? So hot. How do you feel? I feel like I'm melting. Let's put the air conditioner on. And then there are social events, networking events. Let's look at a couple of useful phrases to help with conversation at social or networking events. You know what I'm talking about. You're standing there with a bunch of people you don't know. The person next to you probably feels the same. But someone has to take the initiative, right? Well, if you're both at the same event, it stands to reason that you have at least that in common, right? You could say, I heard John, the first speaker, has some good tips for growth. Yes, I've heard that too, might come the reply. Or simply, there's a good turnout today. There is, yes, it should be a good one. I think so. So, what is it you do? And so on. What about if there is someone at the event that you know and you saw the person next to you talking to them earlier? You could say, how is it you know Sarah? I saw you talking earlier. Oh, we go way back. We went to uni together. There you have it. The ice is broken. You could try saying, "Have we met before? You look familiar." Now, this can come across as a little cheesy, but can work well if you genuinely seen the person before and can't quite put your finger on it. And now, what about those people you've chatted with regularly on the phone or liaised with on email? You've never met them face to face, so what can you say? How about one of the simplest? "It's great to put a face to the name at last." And what about a person you've heard a lot about, but you never met them before? You can say, "I've heard a lot about you." Now, typical responses to this include, "All good, I hope," or "Nothing bad, I hope." Now, these answers are said with humor. Humor can really help to relax both parties during the conversation. After hearing, "I've heard a lot about you," some Brits might even joke by saying, "I thought my ears were burning." Okay, so starting a conversation is great, but how the heck do we end one in an acceptable fashion? Well, to that end, let's take a look at phrases we can use to end a conversation. We can't just turn around and walk away from a conversation, can we? We need to ease ourselves away, to do it in a way that's both polite and leaves a good impression on the person you've been speaking to. And yes, sometimes this can be the most difficult part. Your small talk has gone swimmingly. Your conversation partner is suitably engaged, but then it happens that lovely, fluid small talk begins to slow down, and the eyes of the person you're talking to seem to scan the room once more. Well, that's the cue to kill the mission, to get out in one piece. So, how do we achieve this? Perhaps we could say, "Well, it's been nice speaking to you. Hope to see you around." Or if you're in work, "Right, I better get back to it. Nice chatting to you." Nowadays, we all have a mobile phone, and a nice little excuse that works a treat is, "It was nice talking to you. I've got to go and make a call now, so I'll see you around." If there are lots of people in the room that you quite fancy talking to, you could say, "It's been great talking to you. I've just got to go and mindle. Maybe we can chat more later." Of course, that phrase leaves a friendly opening for more interaction with the same person. You can safely move away with the knowledge that no offense was taken. After a few situations where you've needed to take part in small talk, you'll be amazed at how relaxed you become. And as I've stated before, the phrases I've advised in this lesson are not the only ones you can use. You'll soon work out what approach is best for you. Above all, take the theory and practice, wherever and whenever you can. You can rewatch this lesson and pause at the bits you like. Repeat them until you feel comfortable, and it won't be long before you're using them in real situations. I'll wager that before long, you'll be the one advising others on how best to initiate great small talk. I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye bye.